Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast. We have an interview today. We are here with Steve. So, hello, Steve.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, there you go. Before we get too far into it, I wanted to give everybody a little bit of a background of what your lifting experience and you've actually competed, so what your competing experience is.
Yeah, certainly. So, let's see. I moved down here maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm from Connecticut. So up north, I started doing some other like MMA, boxing stuff, and then I came down here, and everybody seemed to be more into fitness. So I'm like, well, let me give that a shot.
Yeah.
So I started just hitting the gym. I probably just started in our clubhouse gym because I didn't really I wasn't a big fan of these big gyms and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I kind of went into these little smaller things and kind of worked my way up to the bigger commercial gyms and started really liking it. And then obviously I met you through one of our a mutual friend and started working with you. I don't know if it was a few years ago,
Yeah,
probably something
yeah,
like
probably
that.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think right after I started working with you, I'm like, let me try competing, and I ended up linking up with somebody I knew in Connecticut and flew up there and did a first show up there and
Yeah.
fell in love with it. Kind of been that was like in 2022, and then I kind of been doing it ever since. Just enjoy the process of it and trying to see the transformation my body makes and see if I could get it better each time.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It can become very addicting, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing.
Yes. So when did you just for the listeners' background, like how old are you now?
I'm 50 years old now. I started, like I said, 5 years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, actually lifting.
Yeah.
So I don't have tons of background of like lifting weights, but just athletic wise, I was always into sports or something like that. I always did something, jujitsu or boxing or something.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
lifting actual weights and trying to take it to another level's been about 5 years.
Okay. What kind of sparked you into doing that? Like what made you interested to get started? Because some people might think that 45 is quote unquote too late or too old, which is total bullshit. But
Well,
they might think that. What made you decide to get into it?
well, honestly, I thought the same thing. I'm like, I think I'm too old for this, and I'm like, well, let me see what I can do, and then
Yeah.
I'm always looking to challenge myself. So I always need something to chase. So I'm like, let me chase, like I'm chasing a look that I want now, and I like going to these shows, and if I win something, I win something, but I have a certain look I'm trying to achieve, so that's how I try to keep myself motivated. But that's I don't know. I really just started when I was in my 45, well, like 45 or something like that, just thinking, what could I do? How could I change my body? And I don't know, just stuff like that, just to try to keep myself motivated.
Hmm. Had you always been that way, like naturally with other things in life?
Yeah, I always so jujitsu. Like I started, I did that because I'm like, let me see if I could do that. And so I started doing that, and I competed in tournaments with that. I did an MMA boxing match just to see if I could do it. I always want to. I feel like that's what keeps me young and trying to just keeps me living.
Hmm.
Keeps everything going for me. That works for me.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's definitely fun to have projects and things in life you want to try to grow yourself in because it helps you just succeed kind of all areas of life.
And even now, like I'll hang out with some people, and they're always, even one of my good friends. He's like, you're 50. What are you doing? You're 50. And I I'm like, for me, that motivates me more. I'm like, all right, tell me I can't do it. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
think about like the way people age now and longevity. 50. I mean, you would hope to still have another 30 plus years on Earth. So why not
yeah,
feel good and
yeah,
look good?
that's how I feel. That's I'm gonna go out with a bang.
Yeah, I like that. Yes. Yeah. Now, it can be challenging as well taking on if somebody was doing, say, jujitsu and boxing, there should be some regimen of training and nutrition. But when it comes to bodybuilding, there has to be. There has to
Yeah,
be consistency in structure. And that can be challenging to take on in your 40s because you have a business, you have a spouse, you have kids. So, how have you been able to manage being consistent with food?
so it took me a while to figure this out. So But what I've learned for myself, what helps me is like I meal prep, which so and what I love about with you and stuff is like you tell me what to eat, that's what I'm going to eat, and so I know I need X amount of whatever it is, beef, whatever protein I decide. So Sundays I just spend all day meal prepping all my stuff, and that'll last me till like Wednesday. And then Wednesday I do it again, and it helps. It also helps like everyone in my family, we're all on the same page. You know, they want to eat a little healthier.
Oh, great.
They understand what I'm doing. Like my two kids are in softball and competitive gymnastics and stuff like that, and gymnastics is always telling them they got to eat clean or eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So it just helps that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the meal prepping for me is probably the best way. Was the hardest thing to learn for me, but then once I figured it out, it's I enjoy it, and it's easy now.
Nice. Just for a little transparency, to help the listener, what does that look like for you? Like, how long does that take? What does the process look like?
So it's really not that long. People, I think, and I talk to friends, are like, what do you got to do? Spend your whole day Sunday meal prep and everything? And I'm like, no, it might be an hour or two or a couple hours, whatever it is, just to prep all my stuff. It's, ground beef, ground chicken. I just make a bunch of it on my Blackstone or whatever, or in the pans, and I just put it all in little containers, and it's in the fridge, and I'm good. It might take a couple hours out of my day, but
Mm-hmm.
it's, I don't think it's as bad as what some people might get shied away from.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like scared by the idea of it, and since they
Yeah,
don't know what it takes, the imagery of it, the thought of it, starts to grow bigger than what the reality actually is.
yeah, and it's tough. Well, I don't. Like I said, for me, it was tough in the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing, and that's what you and I started working a little bit better and more, and then I kind of did little things on my own and kind of learned some things, and for me, it's easy, and it's like I don't even want to go out to eat. I don't want to go out to lunch at work. Like I bring all my stuff to work, and if I do eat out, I know what to pick, and sometimes I feel like garbage the next day, but I just enjoy what I'm really eating.
Yeah,
So that helps too.
that's great. Yeah. Now, do you think the challenge in the beginning was it mostly just uncertainty of knowing if what you were doing was correct?
Yes, I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah, it was more just not knowing anything. I was kind of just winging it. I needed X amount of protein, so I was just going around eating protein, or
Yeah.
I needed X amount of calories, and I was just going around eating anything and everything. And now, I kind of pick the better choices that work for me, that I know that helps my body out. Everyone might be different.
Mm-hmm. I think the consistency is definitely nice,
Yeah,
especially we're all pretty much managing feeling borderline overloaded all the time. So when we can make decisions easier for ourselves by already having food ready, already knowing what to have per meal, it can actually reduce stress. Even if sometimes people perceive it to be its own form of stress, it actually is helpful to reduce stress because you already have the decisions made and you already know what to do.
yeah. That's why for me it's simple. All right. I know I'm eating this, this, and this, so that's what I make, and
Mhm.
I eat it.
Yeah, it makes it very nice. Yeah. Now you have what's a daily schedule look like for you, just so people can get an idea of how you fit all this in.
So me, I'm kind of busy, so I wake up at 4 in the morning, and I eat all my stuff, get my stuff ready. Well, I'll get my stuff ready the night before, my gym bag and all that stuff,
Hmm.
and then I wake up at 4, prep, do whatever I got to do, and then I leave the house about 4:30, get to the gym for 5, work out till about 6:30, head to work, and then Monday, depending on what day it is a week, I'll leave work about 3:30, and I'm usually either back at the softball field because I coach a travel softball team.
Hmm.
I bring, I'll do hitting lessons for kids the days that I'm not doing um,
It's a lot.
softball, and then my younger daughter's in soccer, so I'm busy 5 days, 6 days a week. So it's tough, but I don't know. I don't know. I just have energy from everything, and I don't know. I just feel good with just how everything's going for me right now. And I think maybe it's because of the meal, the food I'm eating, and I'm fueling my body with better stuff instead of
Absolutely. Yeah, like,
sushi fuse like I used to eat.
yeah, like cleaner quality foods, and then making sure that you have enough. Because I know the majority of people I work with food issues, the main issue is the inconsistency. They undereat sometimes, overeat sometimes, miss meals sometimes. So the more consistent they are, ensuring that they're eating enough, it really does help daily energy.
Yeah, and so another thing, like a lot of my friends would be like, "Well, how do you have the discipline to do all that? How do you?" And I'm like, and really, I think you need to be on point, like 100% for at least 2 weeks, and then after that, that's like your toughest. That was like the toughest probably for me in the beginning was the first couple of weeks. I'd slip off here, but once you get that down, and then it's like it's a mindset. I don't think it really phases people anymore. It's like, oh, I could not eat this. I could still do this.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest thing was, I love Oreos, which you
Yeah.
know that. So, but what, and I still eat them. But what helped me the most that you said, I don't know if you remember it. It was like you're like you could have them, but just have 1 to 3, and then tell yourself there's always tomorrow.
Yep.
So that helped me a lot. I don't know if I ever told you that, but that's what helped me a lot with these Oreos. And now it's like I don't even miss them. Like I don't even, sometimes I don't have them at all, and it's like no big deal. But I felt like it was I want it, but I can't.
Yes.
But as soon as you said you could have 1 to 3 and there's always tomorrow, I'm like, oh. And then it just kind of, I'm like, well, I don't need you, Oreo.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. I think that's very helpful is to understand like what does food do for us, and an Oreo, for example, would fall predominantly under carbohydrate calories.
Yeah,
And to know that, okay, well, during the day when I'm up and active at work, when I'm working out at the gym, I'm going to be burning through a certain amount of carbohydrates. And if those carbohydrates come from an Oreo, it's not unhealthy for me. It doesn't make me fat because I'm going to burn right through it.
yeah. Well, my problem is I could eat a whole bag of Oreos in one
Absolutely,
sitting.
yes.
So I got, and I was doing it at one point until you and I talked, and you're like, just have between 1 to 3, and just always tomorrow. You could have another one if you want.
Yeah.
And I did that probably for like a week, and then it kind of slowed. Then it like, oh, I didn't really care if I had one or not because I knew I could have it. I think that's what it was.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely a big psychological factor for people is they struggle with the trade-off. If I want to be healthy, I have to give up anything that tastes good. People think they have to eat like boiled chicken and broccoli and
Yeah.
all those nasty, like boring foods, but you definitely don't have to have that 100% of the time, but the majority of the time, it does help to have healthy food.
Yeah. And I don't know. And a lot of people, I feel, and I could be wrong, is they see a lot of these diets and all kinds of stuff, and I think they don't really understand. There's other ways to do it that it's not going to be as stressful either.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have you tried in your past, like, have you tried certain diets or anything crazy and extreme?
No, well, those fasting things never really worked for me because I felt like I would fast all day, a certain amount of, then at night I'd just eating whatever, and I don't think that really worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
I find for me feeding my body, throughout the day is the best way for me.
Yeah. And that does tend to give us kind of the better energy because if you think of when you're needing energy is during the day. So
Yeah,
having it when you need it is probably going to make things work best. So,
right.
yeah, like I've
And
told
then
people before, you don't fill up your gas tank when you get home. You fill up your gas tank before you leave that, at the
yeah,
start of the trip.
it,
Yeah.
and then a lot of my friends will follow this stuff on Instagram. They'll see these people making these protein brownies or protein this and that, and I'm like, well, you don't know what their diet is like throughout the day or anything. So maybe they could have all that stuff, and depending what's in it, and
Mm-hmm.
someone will just be eating that the whole time, and I'm like, it depends what you guys are trying to do, also.
Yeah, that's a
If you're
huge
trying to,
part. Yeah, not everybody's goal is exactly the same, so the
right,
advice doesn't always apply to each person watching it or listening to it.
yeah, and like what I'm trying to do is different than maybe some of your listeners and some, most people too.
Mm-hmm.
My diet's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. Have you found, like other than me, have you found knowledge resources or anything like podcast, books, YouTube videos, anything that you find helpful?
I had like I said, a friend of mine in Connecticut that was kind of, and I still talk to him now here and there that helped me out. But that's kind of where I started.
Mm-hmm.
with certain things, and I'll talk to him sometimes about stuff, but I don't know. I usually just if I don't really follow a lot of stuff or read a lot into it.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person is I need someone that like work with you. You're going to tell me what to do. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You tell me to change it, I'm going to change it.
Mm-hmm. I think
I
that's
might ask
very
why, I might not, but I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, it's helpful to not get overloaded. Like you and I are old enough to where, like, when I started all this, I didn't have I didn't have internet at my house,
Yeah,
and so when I first started, you just talked to a couple people who looked jacked or looked leaner than you, and you're like, "What do you do?" And then you tried it, and there was some simplicity to that I think today's society misses because there's information overload. So it's so hard to decipher now what is quote unquote correct or not because
yeah,
there's so much information.
yeah. And everybody's different. Everyone's body's different, so they might get more results or different results than you. Or I learned that along the way too. You can't. I used to always compare myself to all these other jack guys. I think I've said that to you too before,
Mm-hmm.
but can't really compare yourself to others. You can only control what your body can do, I guess.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, along this journey now, you've been doing it for a couple of years, like you said. You've competed a couple of times. Um, that's long enough to have learned a few things of like what to do and what not to do. Whenever somebody were to ask you, like what should I do to get in shape or what should I do to maybe do a show, is there any advice that you give them in terms of like what to do or what not to do?
Yeah, because I'm starting to now have people at the gym come up to me and
Yep.
yesterday a guy's like, "How's your shoulders so big?" And he's like, what do you do?"
That's awesome.
And I just showed him some of the exercise I do, but I said, but what I've learned is for is just to have the form is like, just like in any sport, baseball, soccer, whatever. Your form, your technique has to be on point.
Mm.
So I try to tell them to make sure that they have good form with all that stuff, and just keep showing up, and then getting some results, and then try to, if they want to get into competing, and I'll refer them to you or something because I'm not that experienced to give them all the advice, but I just kind of tell them what I've been doing and what helps me.
Yeah. Yeah. In regards to the process, is there a part of the process or a certain aspect that you love the most and then something that you hate the most?
For me, I love all of it. I love the whole. I love getting all the new workouts that we get. I love trying to master those, and then I just love seeing the change that I make. I love seeing different muscles pop out. Like today when I sent you some photos, like I
Yeah.
thought my back like looked really well, and I like seeing some of those details. But I just love the whole process of of competing, the prep. I mean, when I'm in the deep, when I'm really prepping, I'm always mad, but I'm not doing this again. But then I love it. I love doing it. So I don't know. I just love the whole thing about it.
Yeah, there's definitely good and bad days. Like there's moments in time where you love it and then kind of hate it, but in the totality of the process, there's definitely more of a love than hate.
Yeah.
Yes.
I, and if there was probably one, it'd probably be leg day for me because I always say my legs are probably my weakest point of my physique right now. But so that's usually when I know it's leg day. I'm like, got my because I think they're for me. I look at them. I mean, they're probably good but for on stage and stuff for show ready, they're probably for me. They're not to my standards or show,
Mhm.
but just every day. I call it everyday use. My legs are good, but so whenever I'm trying to do legs, I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I know they're not going to be that good. So that's probably maybe one of the processes I don't like is the leg day.
Yeah, and that isn't uncommon. Everybody has a body part they can't stand, and then it's learning to try to flip the mindset of, okay, if this is the day for the body part I hate, let me love this because I'm
Yeah.
gonna soak it in and do the most miserable crap I can just to get these damn things to grow.
Well, lately I just been talking to them. I just
Love it.
yeah, just try to, I don't know. I do weird things to try to keep myself motivated.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you find that motivation is pretty consistent for you, or is it something you kind of have to renew or think of differently on a regular basis?
I would say probably 90% of the time I'm motivated to get up and go. And it's very like that 10%. There's maybe sometimes I'm sluggish or I don't want to or something like that. But I don't know. I could go to the gym right now and that's what I'm thinking about. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited to go to sleep to get up early to go to the gym,
I love it.
which
Yeah,
is
that's a
probably
great
which is
place to
probably
be.
crazy to say. People are probably like, "What's wrong with this dude?" But that's what I like to do.
And if they're listening to this podcast, they probably feel similar.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because I like the competing aspect of it. That's what I love. You know, after you like that day when I saw you there, we left, and like it just feels like you accomplished something. That
Mm-hmm.
all right, you spent 16 weeks dieting and making sure you're on point and getting to this point you're at, and not a lot of people could say they do that.
Absolutely, that's very true. Like it does give you a sense of like self pride, self accomplishment. You gain confidence in just all areas of life as well. Just knowing that you're capable of doing hard things.
Yeah, I was talking to one of our friends. She just competed in worlds for gymnastics pole vaulting,
Oh,
and she's in her 40s, and she came in second and down in Florida. So I was like, I said something. I go, "Don't you feel different after you left? Like you accomplished something that a lot of people didn't do." She's like, "Yeah, but I was like in the older women." I go, "Yeah, but you were beating college kids." She jumped like 12.2 or something, which is
oh,
over college, yeah, height. So I'm like, look what you did at your age. I'm like, you don't you feel different? Like when I left our competition in Shelby, I felt like I don't know, I was just different.
yeah.
I felt good about myself.
Mm-hmm. It was definitely something like I started lifting weights. I started working out when I was 15, but I started lifting when I was 16. And for me, it just helped me kind of take control of how I had previously thought of myself and starting to cultivate the way I wanted to think of myself and the way I wanted to be.
Yeah,
Mm.
when I was that age, I didn't never wanted to go to the gym because all the meatheads. That's why I never wanted to go, and that's why I started boxing and doing other stuff because I wanted to beat up the meatheads.
That's fantastic.
So now I'm in the gym every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you said you have, how many kids do you have?
I have two girls,
Yes.
11 and 8.
Oh, okay. So they're going to start getting into a little bit of the age of like getting into working out and doing those kind of things.
Well, the 8-year-old does competitive gymnastics, so that's 3 days a week, which is 3 hours. And then Friday, well, it's conditioning pretty much every day. She's like, her name's Aria. She's like, Dad, you got to do abs like this. She's showing us all
Oh,
this
that's
stuff.
so cool.
She does all kinds of crazy stuff. I can't even do it. I'm like, I don't know how you guys do that. But she's going to be one of the. She'll be in the fitness. I could see that.
That's
The other one is softball. I coach her travel team.
very nice. Yeah. Now, are you able, like some of the people, that you talk to and some of the people I work with, they have kids, and is it conscious of mind for you that you're getting to kind of show them and teach them things that maybe you didn't know when you were younger about fitness and nutrition?
Yeah, so because I was brought up eating sweets in my whole life. So my older one, we kind of made that mistake with her. Now she's addicted to sweets and all that stuff. So I've tried to, and the other reason why I was doing this is to show them, look, if you put your mind to something, you could do it. Like I want for softball, she struggles a little bit. So I'm like, but if you got to really want it and if you really put the work in, you're going to get good results. So I try to, when I'm cutting, that's kind of what my thought process is and helps me cut is, hey, I want to show these kids. I'm telling them you could do it. I can't give up. So I want to show them,
Mm-hmm.
look what happens. You don't give up. Look at the results you get. So, and with with my kids, like I found that's why I get up at 4 is that was the best time for me to work out. So I get all my workout in, and at home I'll spend time with them. That's after that's why I wanted to do this earlier so we could do my family time is when I get home. I usually shut everything down and play with them.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
that's what because I tried working out after work one time, and when I first started, and that one just went to I couldn't. I was getting phone calls, Daddy, when are you getting home? We got to play tennis. We got to
Oh,
do this.
yeah.
So I couldn't even I'm like, screw this. I can't work out. So I just started getting up early.
Yeah. I think that's smart. You do get it in before the world wakes up. That's kind of my approach.
Yeah. And that balance, you need that balance.
Mm-hmm.
And the gym also for me is like an outlet too, to kind of unwind. It's like my own little space to myself too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's that me time you can just kind of have for
Yeah.
yourself and kind of clear your mind and think about things.
Yeah. Sometimes I sit and stare too long and I'm like, whoa, I gotta get back to work here.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as a parent, the struggle that I see people often like face is they tend to put themselves last, and in their mind they think of putting their family first, and they don't eat, they don't exercise, and they end up setting, in my opinion, a negative example for their children in the
Yeah.
sense of they want to promote their kids being healthy and successful and happy, but they're not showing them how to do that. Do you find for yourself that by taking care of yourself, do you feel that that makes you a better parent?
I think so. I think because I have more energy, to play with my kids because they have tons of energy. They always want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it helps with that, and I think also stress, like I said, going to the gym kind of is my me time, so I could kind of unload everything, and then I come home, I'm more relaxed, and
Mm-hmm.
so I think it helps out a lot.
Yeah. And I definitely think it's nice because they see you doing that, and they see that, okay, dad gets up at 4 in the morning. That's not abnormal. Like, I can consider that a normal behavior. And then that becomes like a set of standards, or at least an option that they think is okay and normal to take.
Yeah, well, they know, like if I go sneak an Oreo, my little one will be like, "Hey, you can't eat that." So like they know, they see what I'm doing,
Yeah. I love that.
or if
I think it's
yeah,
great.
yeah, or I'll bring a Kit Kat to work or something. Like, you can't have that.
Very cute. I think it's fun. I think it's great. I've worked with a lot of high school athletes, and um, it's nice for the ones that had the role model who
Mm.
did live the healthy life, because they tend to be a little more consistent and less takes less argument to get them to get up
Yeah,
and get their workouts in or get their food in. They tend to just see that as that's what you do in life. So it tends to lean towards them being more successful in their chosen activities, and then also a higher degree of happiness in spite of the work they have to do to achieve what they want. When kids don't have that modeled for them, they tend to sleep in, they skip
yeah,
meals, they whine and complain about the work rather than just understanding, hey, in order to get things in life, you have to do work.
yeah, and that's how my older one is. I was always trying to fight with her to put in the extra work. I'm like, all we need is 17 minutes a day, just hitting off a tee or doing something.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping she sees, because I've been doing it for so long now, that I hope she sees I put the work. You put the work in, you get the results.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's great. I think it's a good idea. Yeah. So when you think of for yourself coming up, what do you have or set as some future goals? I mean, I know, but for the listeners, what do you have as some future goals?
So October 18th, where you and I both will be competing here in Charlotte. So that's my next milestone. I think it's nationals. I don't know. You qualify
Yeah,
for
it's a
nationals, I think,
qualifier
for
for
that one.
nationals. Yeah.
So that's my goal. I want to see if I could qualify or at least come in better than I looked at Shelby.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll
And,
definitely do
and
that.
then yeah, I see that with the photos now. At first I was like, I don't know, but now I agree. I think we're going to come in looking pretty darn lean and pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty happy
And
for
then
you. You're holding 200 right now. Like, you were 201 this
yeah,
morning, and
yeah,
looking
201.
looking clean, man. Looking full and clean. Looks good.
Yeah, that's why when I looked at the pictures, like, oh wow,
Yeah.
I'm like, he's gonna like these ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, and then I don't know. I'll talk to you again about it, but I kind of wanted to do the Shelby one again too,
Oh yeah.
just because it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't that far, and it wasn't. Plus, I thought I could win that one this time.
Yes, it's fun, and then it also gives you a direct 1 year comparison which is always enjoyable to see. Is okay, I know, apple to apple rather than, apple to oranges and things like that, but apple to apple, I can see exactly the progress I've made in a year. And that's very motivating and then also very rewarding to get to see that.
Yeah, I mean, we linked up a couple weeks or 3 weeks or so before that show, and
Mm-hmm.
the transformation you made from then till the show was, you're like, you got to add more calories. And after I got out to, talking to you, I'm like, that guy's nuts. I don't need to add no. And I did it all, and I just dropped there, and I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I was like, you need to eat more and then do less
Yeah.
cardio.
I swear, I hung up after we hung up. I was talking to my wife. I'm like, that guy don't know. I'm like, he's telling me to eat more.
I love it. It's great. Yeah.
And I did it, and then I was like, well, I guess he was right.
That's fantastic. But it was
I
fun.
thought you were nuts, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. We got to like kind of clean up the last bit of it, and then now we're gonna have, a full year to get to do the off season, which is the growing part, and then you diet,
Right.
and the diet part is just trying not to lose muscle, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think we're achieving that. I think I'm keeping. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's probably my body size, and this is as big as I'll get, anyways, which is fine. But I think we're going to keep. I see that we're keeping a lot more, and I'm staying somewhat, relatively lean.
Oh, you're very lean. Yeah.
But I'm also, my diet is more on point than the last few times too. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very happy for you. You look way better than what the average person looks like. you know,
Yeah.
so it certainly it looks good for your goals and your comparison. And then if we just think in general, as a 50-year-old, you look freaking amazing. You look better than 20-year-olds.
Well, it's funny you say that, because a lot of the younger kids in the gym they'll ask me, they think I'm in my 30s, and I tell them I'm 50. They're like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm benching a little. Well, the dumbbells, I do mostly dumbbells,
Yeah.
but I'm throwing up more weight than them. They're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know.
I love it. That's exciting. Those are like the little things that help with motivation and excitement as well.
Yeah, I was in Champs buying some sneakers, and the sales guy, he worked out. This is in Connecticut. He's like, what do you do? He goes, how much do you bench? And I'm like, I don't bench a lot, and I don't usually keep that. I don't put that as a record or tell anybody. I'm like, I'm benching this. And I'm like, I'm like, I don't even bench a lot. He's like, well, I'm benching like 3 something. I'm like, well, you're gonna get hurt. I said, I don't bench a lot. It's just kind of my form. And
Yeah. Well, given your body type, it will not help your chest grow better. There are much better choices for exercises.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm learning that too, working with you as well, is like just different exercises and different things. And I think that's another thing people don't realize. You don't need to throw up tons of weight
Very true.
to get some results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about stressing. Like if your goal is muscle growth, you want to create a stressful amount of tension on the muscle. And that can be done with really heavy weights, but that comes at the risk of injury and other muscles getting involved that you don't actually want to grow. Yeah. Or you
Yeah.
can do stuff the way we do, where we do a lot of pre-exhaust, where we do a lot of volume before the heavy stuff, or a lot of isolation work before the heavy stuff, and then the muscles feel absolutely maxed out, but at lighter and safer weight loads.
Yeah. Like, for example, yesterday it was upper, and it was chest, but before my chest workout, we did a bunch of shoulder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So my shoulders were exhausted, but I still was at the dumbbells, hitting the 105s or whatever, which is good enough for me.
That's impressive.
But after doing all the other stuff, so I still have gas in the tank, and I still felt pretty strong.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's fun to be able to find ways of training that are entertaining, interesting, that keep you motivated, but they're also good for you. So it's actually like helping with longevity. It's helping towards your goal, not having to try to balance. I know some of my strength clients, they want to go into the gym and do a 1 rep max all the time, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not productive. Like that's not going to get us where we want to go.
Yeah. I did that a few times. I start off with a warm up set, and then my second set I went as heavy as I can for 2, and then I would kind of like go from my third set would have been a little bit lighter than my heavy.
Mm-hmm.
for like 5 and stuff like that. But I thought when I went too heavy is when I started losing my form. And
Absolutely.
for me, because I'm older, I'm worried about joints and shoulders, and so I try to work out a little safer.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely techniques and tactics that are more joint friendly than others. And usually, like I was telling, like my mom, I was talking to my mom the other day, and I make sure that she knows not to ever blame her age because you can't do anything about age. So
No,
I
yeah,
usually correct her, and I'm like, well, it's mileage. It's how much you've done in the time you've been doing things. And then what that does is it lets us know, okay, well, if I'm feeling beat up and tired, maybe I just need to try another approach or I need to make a modification in some way. But if somebody's like, well, I just feel this way because I'm old, it's like, well, then what can you do about it? You know,
yeah,
you give up your ability to make any changes when you blame something that can't be modified or, varied.
yeah. Because like I said, my good friend, every time I talk to him, he's like, "You're 50, you're old, you're old." He's like, "Just
Uh,
stop, just." And then I'm like, "Well, you keep telling yourself that you're gonna." Yeah, I know I'm 50, but I don't know. I'm not. My life isn't over, just because I
no,
turned
yeah,
50.
absolutely. Yeah, like
I'm gonna keep going.
I recently turned 41, and I laugh because I don't even think of my age. Like it was just somebody asked me recently. They asked my wife looks young as well, and they had turned 40, and they were telling me about their shoulder was hurting them. And they said, "You wait till you turn 40, like your shoulder is going to hurt, your knee is going to hurt." And I said, "I'm older than you." I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
It was
I,
funny.
I will say the only thing when I say I'm like when I was younger and older, guys were like, "Wait till you get a little older, you're not gonna be able to jump off that your truck like that and your tailgate or something like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree with that now," because I'm like, "Man, that hurts."
Well, that's the thing too. You stay good at what you continue to do. So
Yeah.
if we were doing, box jumps 3 times a week, I'm sure your tissues would be okay with it. But
Oh yeah, I would have quit.
that doesn't meet our goal. Like we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things like use it or lose it. The more people shy away from challenging their body's just going to get weaker and weaker and weaker.
Yeah. That's why I tell my buddy, I'm like, I don't want to tell myself I'm 50. I know that I turned it, but I don't need to. And then the other thing that motivated me too was when I used to go home to Connecticut a lot, and I would see a lot of my friends I went to school with, and I'm like, I refuse to look like that. I'm not.
Yep.
I got kids. I want to show them that this is my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, when my firstborn was Elena, when she was born, I was doing push-ups. I'm like, she can't have no pump for her dad, so I was doing push-ups.
Love it. That's great. I like that. That's wonderful.
I wasn't even lifting weights then. I was just doing that because I didn't want her to come out looking. I'm like, I gotta look jack when she pops out.
That's fantastic. I love it. And it's good to want to show that, be able to you would I don't have kids, but the assumption I could make towards like my wife and people who love me is I want them to always be proud of me.
Right.
And it's not necessarily just because somebody looks good, they're worthy of being praised, but it's the self care, the value you put into what you do and who you are. So the more you take care of yourself, the more you crush goals, the more you pay attention to be the best version of yourself. That does give then the people who love you the kind of motivation or the reason to be proud of you.
Yeah. And people will say that they're like I admire your dedication that what you're doing. They're like I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say they don't have that dedication or that mindset. They're like, how do you just sit here and not have a drink or
Mm-hmm.
like Friday night we did was a Yoko Loco cruise or thing around the neighborhood, and I brought one little drink. I had that, and that was it. They're like, well, how do you just do that? And I'm like, well, I'm like, I know I don't want to feel like crap in the morning. And I said, but this is just me. I'm doing what I want to do. Don't worry about what
Yeah.
you enjoy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, I want to do what you're doing. I just don't have the motivation to do that. I don't know how to tell them. I can't. I don't know how to handle that. So I'm like, I don't know. I just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think from getting to work with a lot of people, I think I was more like you uh, because there was just always something in me that wanted to be better than what I was. And just to prove to myself if I could be better, it definitely took a little bit of coaxing out when I was younger, but now it's just the way of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then working with people, what I usually try to tell them is it's not like an all or nothing process. So if they drink 10 drinks this week, just drink 9 the next week.
Yeah.
And then maybe a week or two after that, get down to 8. A week or two after that, get down to 7. It's just small steps.
Yeah. And before I started working out, I would drink beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started competing and stuff, I still would have some drinks, but I was pulling it back, and then I switched to something a little, if it was Coors Light, I went to maybe Mick Ultra, something that was a little lighter, or then I started just drinking maybe like a Tito's and water just for calorie wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd kind of monitor what I'm eating through the day. If I knew I was going to maybe have a drink that night, maybe I wouldn't have as much rice or something in my food to make up those calories.
Yeah. I think that's
kind of doing
just
doing
a
stuff like
slow
that.
Transition.
And if I go out to eat, I usually try to pick like a steak or something, or if I want a hamburger, I'm going to do the hamburger, no fries, or if I might just do the burger and fries. I try to pick one carb or something on it.
Yeah. Yeah, you lean heavy into the protein and then kind of bring everything else down a little bit.
Yeah. Even though I don't like, because I've had some steaks at places and they're full of salt. It's amazing now how much salt I taste on anything now. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But so I usually don't even want to go out to eat.
Yeah. And that's, it does become, like we said at the beginning, a little bit of addictive because you work so hard to make the progress that now all those little things that might take away from progress don't seem to be as enjoyable or as valuable.
Yeah. And it's tough. It is a tough balance because, you have friends that you want to go out and do things, like the basketball tournaments. Everyone's like, let's go watch them. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And they're eating wings and all this stuff.
Mm.
And here I am bringing my lunchbox, put it on the table, and I eat it.
Yeah.
It's like, you're bringing that in there? I'm like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's a great approach to life is I'm going to do what I want to do. You do whatever the hell you want to do. And we'll both be happy.
Don't worry about me.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Like, I'm not telling you what to do and don't bother trying to tell me.
Yeah. I don't ask you guys, why aren't you healthy every day?
Yes, exactly.
Eat the wings, eat them.
Yeah. And it's definitely something I think sometimes people will struggle if they see someone in their life who's unhealthy and they want to like help that person change. The best approach, in my opinion, and it's a humble opinion, hopefully, is just show what healthy life can be like and how enjoyable it can be, but do it with actions, not with words.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I mean, we're both walking proof, we both work out, we both eat well, and got stuff to show for it.
Yeah, very true. Yes. So it's been working, and we're going to keep working at it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do the podcast today.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So I think is there anything you want to share? Any piece of advice or anything that's kind of been a game changer for you along the way?
I think if for competing, I think people should try it. Like I was nervous about doing it too, but I think I was more intimidated of the people that were going to be there, but everyone there is so nice. Like it's just like a cool community. So it's something, I don't know, if people are like on the fence about it, try it. I mean, you might really like it. I enjoy it. So
yeah. I think a lot of people they have maybe a perception of what it might be like, and that scares them. So it's nice to hear from someone who has competed that it's not so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just keep showing up every day.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a big one.
I think that's most of the advice I give a lot of people when they ask me, like, what do you, I'm like, just show up.
Yeah.
Just show up every day. That's your first step.
Mm-hmm. If you try something, you're going to get something. So just make sure it's something rather than nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and wrap this up so that way you can keep going with your day. But I do want to thank you for doing the podcast, and I'm happy that people will get a chance to learn more about you and take a little bit of tidbits from your journey.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now they'll know who I am when I post.
Yeah. Would you care to share what your Instagram handle is?
I don't even know what it is. Let me. It's let me pull it up.
Yeah. Because that way people could follow you if they want to. They can kind of connect with you a little bit and kind of see what you're doing, and that can help be motivation for them.
So it's Steve STVN 1616.
Okay, STVN1616 on Instagram.
Yep.
Awesome.
And you'll see all my cool pics.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and then if they have any questions, they can reach out to you, and if you don't want to answer them, you can send them to me. So that works. Awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining the podcast today. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.